Good morning, doctors. My name is Dr. Cristina Barahona, and I'm going to talk about anemia. Anemia is a decrease in number of red blood cells or less than the normal quantity of hemoglobin in the blood. Because hemoglobin normally carries oxygen from the lungs to the capillaries, anemia leads to hypoxia in organs. Anemia is the most common disorder of the blood. The three main causes include excessive blood loss, such as hemorrhage or chronically thought low volume loss, excessive blood cell destruction like hemolysis, or deficient red blood cells production, ineffective hematopoiesis.
Our red blood cells make up 40% of our blood's volume. They're made continuously in the bone marrow, looking like flattened donuts without the holes. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin, a bright red protein which gives blood its color. When we breathe, as our blood passes through our lungs, oxygen molecules attach to the hemoglobin. Then the red blood cells and hemoglobin transport the oxygen throughout the body and release it to all our cells and tissues. When the hemoglobin molecules are emptied, they attract carbon dioxide and other waste gases, which they take back to the lungs to be exhaled. Anemia occurs when there are too few red blood cells or not enough hemoglobin. Exhaustion is the common sign of anemia.
In very severe anemia, the body may compensate for the lack of oxygen carrying capability of the blood by increasing cardiac output. The patient may have symptoms related to this, such as palpitations, angina, intermittent claudication of the legs, and symptoms of heart failure. Chronic anemia may result in behavioral disturbance in children as a direct result of impaired neurological development in infants and reduced scholastic performance in children of school age. Restless leg syndrome is more common in those with iron deficiency anemia. In the morphological approach, anemia is classified by the size of red blood cells. This is either done automatically or on microscopic examination of peripheral blood smear. The size is reflected in the mean corpuscular volume. If the cells are smaller than normal, the anemia is said to be microcytic. If they are normal size, normocytic. And if they are larger than normal, the anemia is classified as macrocytic.
Sickle cell anemia is a genetic disease that affects hemoglobin, the oxygen transport molecule in the blood. The disease gets its name from the shape of the red blood cells under low oxygen conditions. Some red blood cells become sickle-shaped, and these elongated cells get stuck in small blood vessels so that parts of the body don't get the oxygen they need. Sickle cell anemia is caused by a single letter change in the DNA. This in turn alters one of the amino acids in the hemoglobin protein. Valine sits in a position where glutamic acid should be. The valine makes the hemoglobin molecules stick together when oxygen tension is low, forming long fibers that distort the shape of the red blood cells, and this brings on an attack.
Iron deficiency anemia is due to insufficient dietary intake or absorption of iron to meet the body needs. Worldwide, the most common cause of iron deficiency anemia is parasitic infestation. Increased iron intake is also needed to offset blood losses due to digestive tract issues, frequent blood donations, or heavy menstrual periods. Iron is an essential part of hemoglobin, and low iron levels result in decreased incorporation of hemoglobin into red blood cells. Megaloblastic anemia, the most common cause of microcytic anemia, is due to a deficiency of either vitamin B12, folic acid, or both. Deficiency in folate and/or vitamin B12 can be due either to inadequate intake or insufficient absorption. Pernicious anemia is caused by a lack of intrinsic factor, which is required to absorb vitamin B12 from blood. A lack of intrinsic factor may arise from autoimmune conditions targeting the parietal cells, atrophic gastritis, that produce intrinsic factor or against intrinsic factor itself.
Vitamin B12 is one of the B vitamins that are essential to maintain a healthy body. Otherwise known as cobalamin, vitamin B12 is needed for the process to convert the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins from food to energy. Vitamin B12 also, more importantly, helps keep the red blood cells healthy and therefore prevent heart diseases as well as keeping the immune system functioning at its maximum level. In addition, B12 is used to create the protective covering of all nerve cells in the body. The most important function of vitamin B12 is to form a healthy red blood cells. However, all cells need vitamin B12 to keep them healthy. It is the white blood cells, among others, that need vitamin B12 to help ensure that the immune system functioning properly. All of the nerve cells in the body also need vitamin B12 to form their protective fatty layer. This is essential for all the nerves, but is especially so for those in the brain. If there is not sufficient vitamin B12 to create this protective layer, then the brain will not be functioning properly. Interestingly, the amount of vitamin B12 that the body needs is relatively small but is needed on a regular basis. However, vitamin B12 on its own is not enough as the body cannot absorb it easily. To help the body absorb vitamin B12, the stomach produces intrinsic factor which enables more of the vitamin B12 to be absorbed. Vitamin B12 is only found in animal food such as liver, eggs, fish, and meat, but most people consume far more than their recommended daily amount of vitamin B12. This is not a problem as the body can only absorb about half of the vitamin B12 that is consumed. It is also worth noting that the body can recycle the 12B, which cuts down on the impact of a 12B deficiency. However, strict vegetarians or vegans are likely to require vitamin B12 supplements if they do not eat any animal products that contain vitamin B12. If the body does not have enough vitamin B12, then anemia is the most obvious symptom. Obviously, this is due to the fact that there is not enough vitamin B12 to make healthy red blood cells. Anemia can also be caused by the body not creating enough intrinsic factor to help absorb the vitamin B12 that is available in the food consumed. The body tends to make less intrinsic factor once a person reaches 50, and this will lead to less vitamin B12 being absorbed, and supplements of vitamin B12 may be required. Kids are also at risk from anemia because they may not eat the food that contains vitamin B12. Pregnant women need more vitamin B12 because the baby is absorbing vitamin B12 during the pregnancy to grow properly. Buy the best vitamins, supplements, minerals, and more at www.tigerforest.com now.
Normocytic anemia occurs when the overall hemoglobin levels are decreased, but the red blood cell size remains normal.